Breaking news. Have you heard? Donald Trump has been indicted a second time. But what about all of the other cases involving former presidents and other big-time leaders?
Let's go off the wall to learn more about how this all started and just a fraction, some leaders who've had similar cases and faced little to no charges at all.
Let's review the incident that is the front of the news cycle, though. Donald Trump. This began on January 18th, 2022. 15 boxes retrieved from a raid at Mar-a-Lago.
Now, you've got 7 months in between that and our next spot on our timeline, August, where there was back and forth between the Trump's lawyers and yeah, absolutely. Before the raid, there was back and forth. There was communication. Then there was a late night raid on August 8th.
That's right. That fast forwards to essentially, I think the next most important point is Trump announces he will run for president in November of 2022.
And 3 days later, Garland appoints a U.S. special counsel, Jack Smith, to look into the case. A lot of people feel like after he announced, Garland and Biden wanted to create some space, or at least plausible deniability, that they're not a part of it, so a special counsel's announced to look into it.
What was buried under all this on Thursday is that sources tell the FBI during June of 2020 that Joe Biden, a credible source, said Joe Biden was paid $5 million by Ukrainian executives.
Explosive potential allegations that the FBI director does not want to give up, only under threat of contempt. Is he allowing some congressmen to see it? That's why, just a few hours later, Trump announces on Truth Social that he has been indicted. Are the two tied together? There are often dates very close to each other that have very different implications.
Now, we think this is important. Let's take a look at other similar incidences and how they were handled when it comes to classified documents. First of all, Sandy Berger. He was an attorney for Bill Clinton. In 2005, he pled guilty to destroying classified documents from the National Archives. He took scissors, Pete, and he cut up reported terrorist threats from the millennium, the turn of the millennium.
Yeah, he was a top national security aide, had 3 documents, cut them up with scissors, could have had a year in prison and a $100,000 fine, except ultimately he worked for Bill Clinton, he's a Democrat, only charged with a misdemeanor and, $50,000 fine. No jail time at all.
Then, speaking of and staying on the Clintons, there is, of course, Hillary Clinton. Now, you hear it brought up all the time. In fact, Hillary Clinton tweeted out something this week with a photo of her wearing a hat that says, "but her emails." But they're pretty interesting in their similarities. In September of 2022, Hillary Clinton said that she told investigators, in fact, there were 0 classified emails on her private email server. This is referring, by the way, Pete, to a 2015 story investigation.
Absolutely. Imagine the gall it takes to say there were 0 classified documents. It dates back to 2015, but in 2018, a government report very clearly points out there were at least 193 emails that had some level of classification when sent. Again, on a private server that they believe could have been accessed by foreign governments, potentially hacked, huge national security implications. What was the consequence?
Nothing.
193
emails. That's more than the number of documents that are reported that were held at Mar-a-Lago.
Absolutely right.
Which is right around 120 documents.
Something like that as it looked at in the indictment.
But nothing when it comes to Hillary Clinton.
No consequence. Well, she's not in the White House. I guess that's a consequence.
That's true.
But no jail time.
Her husband, Bill Clinton, also involved in a similar issue. In 2012, a case denied access to White House audio tapes that he had kept, by the way, in his sock drawer.
Isn't that where you keep most of the important things?
Secret recordings, audio tapes that he kept. But what's interesting about this one is that as you can point out, the court said, no, he had a right to, or he had the ability to keep this type of information.
The court pointed out that was privileged information under the Presidential Records Act.
Right.
So even if it had classified material in the recording that the archives might want access to, it's privileged to him as a former president that maintains the highest of security clearances. I was on with Jason Chaffetz yesterday. He pointed out Trump, all former presidents maintain that security clearance. They have privilege on their own records. This case would prove that.
As you point out, under the Presidential Records Act. Now, they have tried to perhaps go around this precedent, this potential defense, by suggesting President Trump's violation has something to do with the Espionage Act. We're going to find out. That's going to be their attempt to get around.
That's part of it. And who is he spying on and giving it to? I guess we'll have to find out when
That's
it goes.
right.
When
the
it goes
Espionage
to court.
Act has been around for a long time and used in many different applications, all of them suspect.
And the scary part is we could soon be doing a wall on Hunter Biden if he faces no consequences, considering everything he's been up against.